Week 6, Lesson 2. New Heroes, Old Powers. Remember that after World War II, superhero comics stopped being published in order to capitalize on horror comics, romance comics, science fiction comics, and crime comics. Well, in 1952, the Superman television show aired and was a hit with audiences. So Timely Comics, now Atlas Comics, brought back some of their pre-war superheroes. They included the Human Torch, Namor the Submariner, and Captain America. Unfortunately, fans weren't reacting to those characters the same way they had when they first appeared. But once the Comic Code Authority made it nearly impossible to write effective horror and crime stories, DC was ready to try its hand again at creating new heroes. In Showcase, issue number 4, they created the Flash, or more accurately, the Silver Age Flash. The original Flash character was created in the Golden Age named Jay Garrick, who first appeared in 1940 in Flash Comics issue number 1. Jay got his powers of super speed by smoking next to some samples of hard water, which break and create fumes that almost kill him. When he comes to, he finds out that he can run faster than any human should be able to run. His helmet was based off of Hermes, or Mercury's helmet, in ancient Greek and Roman mythology. Eventually, it's revealed that he can run just as fast as the speed of light. So he's pretty fast. His fights were pretty comedic, as he was never in any real danger. Being so fast, bullets weren't a threat to him. So you can say he was very overpowered. He eventually joined the Justice Society of America and became one of its most important members. There, he became friends with the Green Lantern, and they continued their adventures until Flash Comics was canceled in 1949, and All-Star Comics with the Justice Society was canceled in 1951. September 1956, Showcase, issue number 4, appeared with the character on the cover bursting through the limitations of the film strip. That's not coincidental. That's a film strip that he's breaking through and not a comic book panel. In it, the character is making a statement that he is breaking through the boundaries of film and doing what the television and movies cannot. This might sound like a far-fetched academic theorizing at first, but remember that this is in 1956, and comics are struggling to remain relevant because of the Comic Code Authority's censorship. Their biggest competition for home-based visual entertainment is television, and that industry used plenty of film. Here's a character that bursts through the limitations of film, running directly at the reader, with a smile on his face. This character's name is Barry Allen, and he is the Flash. He is one of the fastest characters in all of fiction, and he's going to start the reimagining of heroes of the Silver Age. The Flash had little connection to the Golden Age Flash. Jay Garrick, despite having the same name and almost the exact same powers, was his own character with his own story, own life, and own adventures. Barry Allen is introduced to the readers by him reading a Golden Age Flash comic, so Jay Garrick is a fictional character in Barry Allen's reality. Barry Allen is sitting in a police lab, drinking milk instead of smoking. He wonders what it would be like to be the fastest man alive. No sooner does he wonder that than lightning hits him and breaks all the chemicals around him. Feeling a bit dazed, he heads towards home. Running to catch a taxi, he finds that he's running faster than the taxi. Later, when a waitress trips with his dinner, he notices everything seems to slow down in midair. The next morning, he sees a bullet flying in midair towards his girlfriend Iris, and he's able to move fast enough to let her dodge the bullet. Using the Flash comic for inspiration, he creates a friction-proof suit with a similar lightning bolt symbol. He then uses contemporary science to fit the suit into a ring that fits on his finger and pops out to a full-size suit when he needs it. In the next story, the Flash chases after a time traveler, and to capture him, the Flash runs so fast that he realizes he can jump through time. Remember, Barry Allen's civilian job is a technician at a police lab who works with chemicals. And he's a pretty good scientist, and science plays an important role in these stories, even if it's just comic book science. They are theoretical reasons for a hypothetical scenario regarding a man who can run faster than light. And unlike Superman stories, where the rules of what Superman can and cannot do fluctuate depending on who he's fighting, Flash comics stayed pretty consistent on what the character could and could not do. Even one of the Flash's villains, Captain Cold, uses science to stop the Flash. Captain Cold uses his freeze gun to instantly freeze any person. However, the Flash is usually too fast to hit with it. So, Captain Cold becomes a threat by freezing the air particles around the Flash. If particles are warmer, they move faster. If they're cooler, they slow down. So, if Captain Cold shoots the area around the Flash will have to slow down to a more regular speed. Now, of course, this is what we like to call comic book logic, simplifying a complex groups of scientific variables in order to justify how the powers work, so that the writer can tell a story. The Flash proved to be such a hit that after a few appearances in Showcase Comics, the Flash continued the numbering from the original Flash comics, which ended with issue 104. In issue number 105, Barry Allen was taking over the title. But, unlike the Golden Age Flash, Barry Allen takes his villains more seriously, giving things a sense of danger, even if the Flash is safe. The majority of his villains also use technology to commit their crimes. They don't have any natural or supernatural powers. They use science fiction level technology to defeat the Flash. Barry Allen also had a girlfriend named Iris who did not know that he was the Flash. But, unlike Lois Lane, who despised Clark Kent, but was infatuated with Superman, Iris was very supportive and fond of both Barry Allen and the Flash, despite not knowing that they were the same person. The comic book was also self-aware, and Barry Allen would talk directly to the readers at times, saying how he was going to tell his story, that he just had the adventure of, to the comic book writer Gardner Fox. This eventually led up to Flash, issue number 123, called Flash of Two Worlds, which was released in September 1961. In this story, Gardner looks at what happened to the Golden Age heroes. Flash is at a charity performing a trick, but he vibrates too quickly and finds himself on a parallel Earth. He quickly realizes that this Earth is like the one that he read in the comics, and he runs to Jay Garrick's apartment, where Jay is shocked to learn that Barry knows his secret identity. Barry explains that he knows it because he's from another dimension where Jay only exists as a comic book character. Instead of having an existential crisis, the two team up and fight crime. They learn that they work better as a team, and they team up to stop the villains. They defeat the villains, and Flash vibrates really quickly again to get back to his own dimension. He then looks at the readers and thinks that the only people who could possibly believe his stories are the readers of Flash comics, and how he'll tell his adventure to the writer so that this story can be made into a comic. Now, The Flash has given us a lot to work with here. Does Barry Allen know that he's a comic book character, or at least fictionalized in some way? Is the comic implying that it knows it's a comic book? If so, does that lessen or strengthen the impact of the story? There's a lot of philosophical questions that can come from this comic. It was also one of the first pieces of fiction to show a parallel Earth, where the Earth and basic rules of nature and physics were the same, but things evolved differently. Many people believe that Philip K. Dick's Man in the High Castle was the first story to do this, but that book was released in 1962. Flash, issue number 123, was released in 1961. This issue is also important for finding an in-continuity way for DC to unite its new heroes with its older ones. Using a metafiction and a science fiction narrative, they found a way to combine new heroes with older ones, while still keeping continuity. Flash's early appearances were so influential that it was seen as one of the first great comics created after the Comic Code Authority was implemented. And while I personally think that the Silver Age started in 1954 with the implementation of the Comic Code Authority, many comic fans believe that the Silver Age started in 1956 with the first appearance of the Silver Age Flash. The success of the Flash led to DC creating other heroes using the same template. Take a Golden Age hero and update him and his powers and origin for the 1950s, using a science fiction theme instead of a mythological one. The most famous example of this is the Silver Age Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. On October 1959, in Showcase issue number 22, Hal Jordan was introduced as the new Green Lantern. The original Green Lantern was named Alan Scott. He was a radio host and one of DC's oldest costumed heroes. He had a magic ring that could form solid objects made of green light. But it was weak against the color yellow and wood. Like the Golden Age Flash, DC stopped writing Alan Scott's adventures in 1951. About 8 years later, DC decided to redesign the Green Lantern for a younger audience. Hal Jordan is now a test pilot for the American military, trying to give America the edge in their Cold War against the Soviet Union. Instead of having a magic ring, Hal Jordan's ring is from a fantastical alien technology. The ring is not limited to making temporary objects from light. It has the power to do whatever Hal Jordan wants it to do. The ring still has the same weaknesses as the previous Green Lantern, but otherwise, the ring is almost an unbeatable weapon. The only other problem with the ring is that the ring only holds so much power, and each time Hal Jordan uses it, that energy drains. Hal Jordan needs to repower his ring by saying an oath every time he touches the ring to an object shaped like a Green Lantern. This Green Lantern is also part of a group of Green Lanterns placed throughout the galaxy, like an intergalactic police force. So, instead of fighting gangsters and mythological creatures, this Green Lantern is fighting aliens. And his main villain is an ex-Green Lantern named Sinestro. Like the Golden Age Green Lantern, this Green Lantern develops a friendship with the Flash. Hawkman is also a character that got upgraded for the Silver Age. The Golden Age Hawkman first appeared in Flash Comics issue number 1 in 1940. His name was Carter Hall. Carter Hall is a reincarnation of an Egyptian prince. Like the other Golden Age characters, he made his last appearance in 1951. In a comic book called Brave and the Bold, issue number 34, that was released in February 1961, Carter Hall was introduced as the new Hawkman. He was an alien prince from a planet called Thangar. He was sent to Earth with his wife, who was Hawkgirl, and they learned how to use human police methods. So, why is all of this important? Because, in order to try and remain relevant, superheroes were taking up more of a science fiction slant. And the successful comic titles were completely new heroes. But new heroes using older powers and names of existing heroes. Comics were too unsure of heroes to try something completely new, but the comic book readers seemed to be accepting the new heroes. Despite telling simple stories that you didn't have to completely understand the mechanics of to enjoy, there are some deeper themes and concepts hidden within them. And because the Comic Code Authority pushed most of the adult readers away, the importance of many of these concepts were not tackled by critics and scholars of the time. Questions to contemplate. Do you think these characters would be more or less successful if they kept existing powers, but took on new original superhero names? What is a more important moment in comics to end the Golden Age and enter the Silver one? The creation of the Comic Code Authority, or the creation of the Silver Age Flash?